All right, we are live with 618 of our intimate friends on YouTube.
Where is everybody?
114, 16 on locals, and Rumble has 128. Wow, locals is almost as many as Rumble.
Rumble has 128.
128 live. And
what is going on with this format, with this Rumble thing? Do you know, what is the status of Rumble?
Rumble is an alternative platform.
No, I know the party line, but what is its status as a business and making inroads into the evil ones?
Well, they have multiple businesses, and honestly, I think that their infrastructure is probably going to be the big money maker. The same way, I don't know if you realize this, that Amazon doesn't make their money from selling goods to you. Mm-hmm. They make their money from Amazon Web Services, and they have literally all kinds of startups who are on there. Have you heard of Ring Doorbell as an example?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, Amazon, when Ring Doorbell came up, they needed a back end with the web services they had on Amazon. Amazon looked at their server logs and they said, wow, a lot of traffic going there. So they bought the company. And they've been doing that kind of thing with other companies as well. Amazon also has Whole Foods. So ironically, what we know Amazon for, they're almost moving out of. A lot of what they're doing is acting as kind of just a listing service. And so when you're on Amazon Prime, it'll say fulfilled by blah, blah, blah. So a lot of it's just being sold through them.
I meant to ask you, I have Amazon Prime, right? And I got an email from them and they said, you have never used Amazon Music once. And it's got millions of songs. I never even knew it was part of the deal. Like, have you ever used Amazon Prime Music?
Well, no, because I use Apple Music. So it's kind of redundant.
Right. No, I'm saying I've never used it. And yeah, I think I may try it this weekend and see what's on there.
I mean, you already own it. It doesn't,
Right. I'm not paying for anything extra. I mean, it's already, they're saying it's part of the annual membership.
Yeah, that's like I have YouTube Music with YouTube Premium because I've been on that since 2008.
Yeah.
But again, I don't use that. So it's like, I don't use Spotify because why pay for something I already have with Apple Music, but whatever. One thing I do like is Apple Music does pay the artists more money. By I think it's about 10 times more per track played than Spotify. Spotify is like the worst.
Okay.
For paying the artists. So I don't know what Amazon pays or
where are we in the purchase of Greenland, by the way?
I don't know, right now. Well, right now they're busy fighting about H-1Bs.
Okay. Can I just say one thing and then we can move on to whatever we're going to do?
Well, Q&A.
The Q&A, right. Before, I just wanted to add one thing to this thing after we had this thing going on. And I don't mean that, I don't even know what this means, but I do know what it means. These two business guys who got their Vivek and Musk, who began this process, the first thing they did was self-serving. In other words, they went after an area that was involved in their world. Not even officially in office yet, they went after something that was immensely important to them as businessmen. And I thought, that's kind of low. And it kind of blew up in their face, and they never should have been allowed to do it. 6 months down the road, nobody would have even paid attention to it. But it shows you that they were so interested in their own self. This is just my take on it. That they jumped on this thing as the first thing out of the gate, not fuel prices, not shipping costs, not too many people in the secretarial pool, not Pentagon hammers, this thing, because I believe it was important to them personally.
Well, I mean, again, I've never said that Elon is the best or Vivek. I said that Elon is a net positive. That's a very specific term.
I agree. I'm just saying it shows you that left to their own devices, these people will self-serve.
True.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's disappointing. It's very sad, but true.
well, keep in mind that after the election, Elon's net worth went up $200 billion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he went from about 240 billion approximately to $140 billion. So don't, you know, there was obviously an incentive in there. I don't think it was just simply luck.
No. Again, if this was the 20th thing on their agenda, no one would have noticed. But as they made it the first thing, and people went batshit crazy, especially MAGA, who don't want anybody coming in. And they just can't get it through their thick heads. Whether MAGA wins this battle or not, that's what they feel they voted for, Eric. Right?
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
just generally speaking. And to come out and say, we got to let these people, you're like, whoa, what the hell is this now? I think it blew people away.
I guess I think we'll hash it out more on Friday, but this one, it's interesting. Now for tonight, we're definitely doing a Q&A and everything's open. I mean, really, if you look at the top 10 list, and I encourage everybody, Mark is wearing the proper hat to represent the year, since everybody wanted to work at McDonald's, including Donald Trump. Kamala Harris claimed to work at McDonald's. We still don't know if that happened.
McDonald's. I mean, it really was. I mean, let me tell you something. I just want to add this one thing. I bought 2 heroes from Subway yesterday, and it was $48. Just this. I mean, just 2 foot-long heroes. Not one for me, one for a friend. 40 again. It was delivered, so you got to add that in there.
Oh, DoorDash.
Well, in this case, it was Uber Eats, but nevertheless, that was only $3 or $4 extra dollars. Then you add on a tip, and then you add on a tax. $48, $24 a sub, and you wonder why people are freaking out.
Well, and honestly, okay,
and it was fast. It was a fast food. It did get here. Let me tell you something. It got here faster than if I ate it in the store and ordered it, where they put on each little thing, you know, one by one. They go down the assembly line and they go, "Do you want olives? Do you want pickles? Do you want this?" Sure. I checked all the electronic boxes, and it got here faster than I would have gotten it in the store. Now, that being said, there's a Subway nearby, you know, to my house, so it wasn't that far to go. But $48, Eric?
I'm willing to bet if you walked in the Subway and you order your sandwiches, it would have been $15 to $16 approximately. But when you figure their Subway is going to say, okay, it's X amount, they jack up the price online, then they add a service fee on it because it's going to be delivered. Then Uber Eats has an automatic delivery fee that goes onto it, and then you put a tip on it. It's kind of like looking at your cell phone bill when you're like, well, wait a minute. What are these 27 charges? Or if you get a hotel, have you noticed that whenever you rent a room in a hotel, you're like, wait a minute, the room is $100. Where's this other $62 coming from? Here's the city, the state.
Really? Well, that's why one of the things Biden wanted to do was for Biden, whoever was on that thing, to eliminate Ticketmaster extra charges. That seemed to be like one of his peccadillos or something, to eliminate the secret hidden charges of concert tickets. Do you remember this? In the year in review, which I thought this might be a good Q&A year in review of stories that half of us have forgotten already. You know,
sure.
A lot of newspapers and websites go over the stories. And I was looking at the Epic Times, and they, like every other paper, they did this. They did 24 defining moments of the year. So maybe the questions will be around those in general anyway. But there's stories I've even forgotten, Hunley, like McConnell stepping down, the Harvard, the president of Harvard, remember her? She had to step. Yeah. There's obviously the number one story is that.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean that's without a doubt. But
and then number 2 is that again, only in Florida. Maybe you really look.
Well, that's actually it's not here. That's not to us. Maybe it is, but not here. It says, remember the toppling of the bridge down by you over there? That's
Baltimore.
Yeah. I mean, there are stories here. The terrorist who killed 145 in Russia. Remember that story when they went?
I don't remember that one.
I know. There's stories that. Hold on. Let me just find my glasses. But I mean, there are some stories here that I don't even remember, Hunley. Assad regime falls. Okay, exploding pagers.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that was a good one. Prisoner exchange frees Americans held in Russia. There was that story.
Well, that was the basketball player, right?
Yes, I believe. Well, U.S. government said no. It was somebody called Jurlasovich trial was politically motivated. Also freed was U.S. Marine veteran Paul Whelan.
Okay, well, I knew that there was the one with the female basketball player, and she was traded for the like the Lord of War.
Yeah, that's not the story they're referring to here. There's the pardon of his son. Mm-hmm. There is Trump defeats Harris. Trump convicted. SpaceX catches rocket in reverse. There's that one.
That was recent and cool.
Yeah, Chinese agent arrested in New York. Former deputy chief of staff of Governor Kathy Hochul arrested for being a spy on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party. That story got short shrift.
Well, it's kind of hard to keep up.
I know.
Especially going around the election time. I'm tired.
I know.
I'm like,
okay. It's definitely burnout time. Palestinian protesters occupying the nation's campuses, right?
Yeah, well, that's a 2-year story now. I mean, it's,
yeah,
that's just kind of ongoing. I mean, hell, we just had somebody push in front of a subway train today. I mean, it's just constant.
Yeah.
And but by the way, Curtis Lelois has re-engaged his people. The Guardian Angels.
It's about time. Yeah. I think he's got a son. Maybe his son could take over the operation, and it's inevitable. It had to come back.
But it's sad that it did. I mean, I know technically because it's bad, it should have come back. I disagree that it had to come back. That was de Blasio. That was bad policies. These problems were not there 3-4 years ago.
No.
They let this happen. They opened the gates for this to happen.
Well, I mean, once you defund the police, the priority, if you ask Al Gonzalez, I'm sure he'll explain it a little bit more intelligently, but they had to go upstairs, put it that way, in police, New York police terminology. They had to make choices, and this choices to save of the two, the street is given priority over the subway. And that's what started this thing, was the resignation, the defunding of the police, the resigning of the police, taking early retirement of the police, left them no choice but to go to the street level. But now this woman who is the chief of the commissioner of the New York Police Department, who came from the sanitation department, I didn't know she was a Tisch. Tisch is one of the wealthiest families in New York. Tisch School of the Arts at NYU. The Tisch family is one of the wealthiest New York families, and she is of great wealth herself. She was the sanitation commissioner 2 minutes ago, and they made her police commissioner. And holy crap, is she cleaning up that department? She is putting people back on the beat. She's taken these deputy chiefs of police and assign them to housing projects in the Bronx. I mean, because of these sex scandals, and she's taken people, she's fired people at the top level.
You mean she's doing a good job? That's kind of
It's shocking. An amazingly insane job that she's doing, and people believe she's possibly looking for higher office. Again, not that she needs the money.
Give it to her.
No. She's like a Jewish mom. This is, I think this is the era of the Jewish moms in New York who are going to fight back and take over. Not unlike Maud Maron, who is, running for the DA slot against Alvin Bragg. A lot of these women who are in the Jewish culture, activists in general, who have kids, are fed up, Eric. They're just fed up, and they're doing it themselves. This Tisch story, holy crap. She has gotten rid of some of the worst people in the history of NYPD.
Well, good. All right. For tonight, though, folks, we haven't done a Q&A for a while. And a lot of you are new. And by the way, if you are new to the show or you just discovered it recently, let us know in the chat. I would definitely like to see, who's coming on board. But as far as questions go, it helps a ton if you literally write the word question and the question, or at least a Q colon question, something like that. So it's easier for me to kind of keep track of whatever's coming in terms of questions. And
we got to avoid the questions that are, if Oswald killed Kennedy, why did he need a second handgun? Those questions that presuppose part of the front of the question is a supposition that's insane. And we get that a lot where they just go, if Oswald, whatever, I'm not picking on Oswald, but it's any question that presupposes something. You can't ask a question, if Des Moines is on planet Mars, why is St. Louis the capital of Missouri? I mean, that's the equivalent intellectually of some of these questions. So you have to.
However, if you pay enough, I'll still ask it.
Okay, well, you'll answer it too, bro, because I don't have an answer for that.
Okay, so we actually had a couple that literally just came in. They're perfectly fine. Question: where do I get Mark's hat?
There is a company, I forget the name of the company, that they make hats of various vintage things. And McDonald's is one of them. I don't know.
I wonder if it's licensed by them.
I don't know, but they do have various vintage hats on that website. If you look around on eBay, I think you could find it.
All right. And there's a super chat question. How was your Christmas? Happy New Year's. I know Arizona is crooked.
Let me tell you something. Arizona is becoming like the new go-to crooked state. I mean, Eric must know about it because he grew up there, but I had no idea. I was thinking of moving there until I realized how cockamamie crooked this thing is. I mean, they own the judges there. There's just a lot of deep state activity in Arizona that goes back to Goldwater's time, Eric, right?
Before that.
Maybe before that. I only know Arizona starting in 1964-ish,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Arizona has a lot of those elements. Consider it's a mining state. Anytime you have the mines involved and things like that, it didn't even become a state until 1912.
Yeah.
So
well, there's certainly a lot of corruption there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, does Carrie Lake have to go somewhere to do her job, or does she stay there? Or, I mean, where do you go when you're the head of Voice of America? I mean, do you go to DC? Is there an office she has to go to? I mean, I'm curious, like, where does she go physically?
I never thought of that. I don't even know half of these appointments, what they do, where they are. Right, I'm sure there's an office, though. I mean, if this is our government, I'm sure that there's an office. I'm sure that there's a staff. I'm sure that there's a place and a building.
It's a huge budget for Voice of America. It's not a small operation.
Yeah. I mean, probably somewhere near Langley.
Yeah, I'm sure it's close. You can walk over. It's probably walking distance. Hey, run this over to Voice of America, Bob. Just go ahead. Go on a jog. Let's go. Run it over there. A couple papers. Get it signed.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Locals question. Opinions on the fog that is making people sick. The drones didn't work to scare people enough, so they moved to plan B?
I don't know about this fog. What's the deal with the fog now?
I don't know. I just literally saw it kind of flashing by, and I don't always dig into it, but apparently there's random fog in different places, and I was like, what, is that a hangover? Or is that actually something going on?
There was a movie called The Mist, which was...
I remember Steve McQueen?
Thomas Jane was the star of The Mist.
Stephen King's Mist. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's the one I was referring to.
That was a good one, actually.
Yeah. Not bad. But yeah, I don't know about the fog. We have fog all the time out here because of the marine layer that comes in. But I didn't predict. When you drill down, it said that the drone contract that they had with these aerospace agencies in New Jersey was going to end December 26th. That combined with the FAA prevention of drone flight by hobbyists, combined with the demand by authorities not to phone in drone sightings and the compliance of the willfully compliant media, have totally taken this story off of the mainstream media and TV and everything else. That being said, people in New Jersey are still posting nonstop drone sightings on Instagram and YouTube and other social media platforms. And Al Gonzalez says it hasn't abated 1 inch. It's just they have eliminated this story from the zeitgeist through a multifaceted thing. Not telling people not to call in if there's a sighting, saying that whatever up there now is authorized. It was an interesting multi-pronged attack to something that I believe was a defense test of drone defense, in my humble opinion, and leading to the legislation, the so-called drone bill.
All right. Well, here, this is a perfect answer to this question. So, question: do you answer Rumble chat questions?
That's a good question. Yeah. Is this guy on Rumble?
Yes. It literally is a.
Yeah. Okay. That's a
Does that answer
question.
your question?
Yes. The answer is yes. Any question from Rumble, unless it involves, the Third Reich or something.
And obviously, we can't get to them. Alina, what's with my hat? It happens to be I just had a hat. Mark had a McDonald's hat. I thought, well, you know what? I'll throw this on. But I also put this on because if any of you are on X, I'm on X, Mark is on X. I just put out a tweet thread and pinned it to my profile of the top 10 America's Untold Stories episodes this year. And if you wanted to catch up, these are the most popular episodes over the year. Not all of them came out this year. One of them, David Ferry, snuck in for some reason at the last minute. But David Ferry's in there. But these are the top 10 shows of this year.
Chappaquiddick was in the top 10?
Chappaquiddick was number 1.
Number 1 story was Chappaquiddick?
Yes, it was. And
That's
that was the
crazy.
only thing near Watergate that made the top 10.
Weird.
Well, the call girl ring did too.
The call girl ring. Well, that's sexual and that's got hookers and everything. And that's explainable.
Well, Chappaquiddick would be sexual too.
Oh, you know what? It's salacious. It's salacious. That's right.
But
you people sicken me. You're really sicking me.
All right. Pamela Clifton with her super chat. Happy New Year's Tuesday, guys. I hope you guys have an awesome 2025.
Okay. Was this the craziest year ever, 2024? I mean, think back. I mean, everything that we went through. It does say, actually, if you look at the top of the paper, it does say Trump survives 2 assassination attempts in smaller type there.
So roll it into one. That's fair.
Yeah, they rolled it into all 3. FBI foils a 3rd, it says.
Yeah, which was never really I think that 3rd one was kind of like a very suspect.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Ica Matrix is a new member. Thank you. Happy Hanukkah, Mark from Mo Bishop.
Yeah, I got a menorah that the candles are bigger than the holes on the menorah, so I've had to melt the candles to get them into the candle holder part of the menorah every night. And it's still going. I still got 2 nights left. It's weird because Mel Gibson, for a number of years, Mel Gibson almost had a deal to do a huge biblical story on the Maccabees and the creation of Hanukkah. But I guess people got kind of spooked and it was Mel Gibson. I said right away, so let's go. He knows what he's doing. Let's make the story. Who cares? Maybe he could probably, it's like the Braveheart of the Bible with the Maccabees, the brothers who fought the Syrian army, how appropriately, with a tiny bit of candle oil, and it burned for 8 nights, hence the miracle of Hanukkah. But he is still pushing for this movie, Mel Gibson, to direct. Maybe he'd be in it too as one of the Maccabee brothers. I'm not really sure about that, but I wouldn't put it past him. But yeah, let's go. Come on, Gibson.
It would probably be good reputationally for him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, somebody's pointing out that Brittany Griner was released in 2022, just saying.
Oh,
okay.
Maybe that's why. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, these other people, yeah. That's what I said. This is a story about some other people who were released in a trade with the Russians. But you know what's weird? That Jimmy Carter gets in under the wire, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's
that,
in the 2024 people that they'll forget at the Academy Awards, because they always forget like 2 or 3. I don't know how hard this job is, but every year the Academy Awards, when it gets to those who passed away during the previous year, leaves out like 2 or 3 super famous people who died. And it's almost like a running joke out here. And people just go, how hard can this job be for an intern to simply go through the news and find out who passed away during the year?
or go,
And
who died in 2024?
yeah, no, again,
Google.
it takes absolutely no brain cells to do it. And yet every single year they leave out 1 or 2 people.
Okay,
And I mean a big name person, not just, Mo from the Stooges.
Well, I'm willing to bet that Jimmy Carter will make it, because he's probably not in any movie or anything.
Right.
So it will definitely put people in who aren't in movies or relevant, but then have like a major movie star and leave them off. That seems to be a good way to go.
Right. But a lot of these guys, like Jimmy Carter, plays himself in 1 million documentaries. So he is considered, not him personally, but a lot of these guys who are not movie people end up being in movies. Simply because they're in documentaries. It's still on IMDb. I bet you if you IMDb Jimmy Carter, he'd have more credits than I do.
Well, okay.
Simply from an IMDb point of view.
Yeah, IMDb is very weird on that. It's like there are people, and you sit there and watch them in a show, look up the show, and they're not listed, or
I know.
There's a million.
It's very sketchy. Usually it's handled by management of the person.
Yes.
Or the intern who just came on in the manager's office and says, get Bob up there on IMDb.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I don't even know if my John McAfee stuff is on IMDb or not, because that was part of the negotiation when they used my footage for the John McAfee documentary. So I'm in the credits. Like if you watch the Netflix documentary and you go to the end, what you have to do, though, is you have to hit pause right before it automatically goes off to whatever the hell else. And you have to say, continue watching, so you can see all the other foreign languages. And then way in the very, very end, it'll say, extra additional footage by Eric Hunley or something like that.
Well, Jimmy Carter did, I guess he must have heard some things that made him die before Trump came in, or what it was. But they did show this footage of him yesterday saying that the 2016 election was not legit and that the Russians wanted for Trump. And he goes into detail on this panel discussion, this nut. Again, this is 8 years ago, but this is what this guy's mindset was like, and he wasn't, Biden delirium. He was pretty sharp in this panel. And he simply said that the election was illegitimate and he was an illegitimate president. He went into great detail, saying the Russians stole it for him and then blah, blah, blah. This is the freaking nut that did this.
Yeah. Somebody's saying they thought Dick Tucker would be in the top 10. I think that was last year that we did the
I don't know.
Dick Tucker episode.
Did we ever do Dorothy Murrett as a separate?
We did the Murettes.
The whole family. Right. Okay. Right.
I think so.
Right.
And I don't think that there's going to be, I don't think you said there was enough to do anything on an individual.
No, I think that's why we did it all together, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Brad Satva, Rumble Rant, saying Arizona is the seat of the right-wing arm of the deep state and AI-based internet censorship. Look up Arizona State.
He's right. He's right.
McCain.
Yeah, he's absolutely correct. That's not inaccurate. There are 2 wings of the deep state, a left and a right wing, and there were elements that came together and created the Ukraine cyclone bomb. Was that both worlds collided? The Democratic world out of Burisma and the Republican world, which had been in Georgia and other gas-involved things in these former Soviet satellites. They had a footprint there, but it all came together for Ukraine. Both sides. That's why you had the bipartisan support of the war.
Yeah. I mean, deep state, cash,
No, but
corporations.
what he's saying is there's two wings of the deep state.
Of course, yeah.
And both of the, well, I didn't know that. I mean, I thought it was one big thing. There's two wings of the CIA. Again, a right wing and a left wing of the CIA.
Yeah, and I even hate doing that. There's just competing interests. And I think that they shift into whatever, like you could say it's left and right, but it's just power plays. And they're going to shift to whichever side back and forth in order to gain the power, in my opinion.
Mike Benz, if you watch his analysis of this thing, says these are distinct, separate entities run by state and Pentagon forces. And when they do coalesce, then it's like an unstoppable force. That's why Ukraine was unstoppable. And it rarely coalesces. And that when they do, it's an explosion.
Yeah, like Iraq.
Yeah.
Afghanistan.
Well, think about those. How often do those things happen? I mean, they're not
every time we want a war. The wars are when they seem to coalesce.
Well, again, but you might have an invasion of Panama where they don't coalesce, where it's just the right wing side doing a Panamanian and a smaller scale operation.
I think that was more in the 80s and Reagan especially, because that was definitely a right wing side of going into Central and South America and mucking about. But the left wing has shifted to the degree where they want to get in on the action too.
Well, the reason I mention it is because of Jimmy Carter and the Panama Canal. Jimmy Carter gave them the Panama Canal to apologize for years of deep state activity in Central America. He thought that this would make up for it by giving it to him for $1. But in that agreement is a caveat, Eric, where if it's a threat to national security, all bets are off. I didn't know that. I didn't know that either. I didn't know.
So we have a clause. I like that.
We have a sanity clause that's in there that says, and this is where Trump read the fine print on the deal. And he said, if there's a national security threat or an interest to the United States, the deal can be revoked. Now, I'd say if the Chinese Communist Party is running 2 out of the 4 locks.
Exactly. So you're going to say, no, we didn't give it to China. We gave it to you. We're taking that back. That might be a perfect answer right there.
That is the answer that he's stating. Yeah. He's actually said that.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear him.
That's where it's coming from. That's where it's coming from. That's what he went through it and came up with that.
No, that sounds perfect because it's like, well, wait a minute. We gave it to you, not to them. So we'll take that and just seize it from the Chinese.
Right. The Greenland story is a different story because we've had a presence there for many years in a military base in northern Greenland. What he wants to do is purchase it like the Louisiana Purchase, from Norway, and that's a different situation.
Well, from Denmark, yes.
Oh, Denmark. I'm sorry, Denmark.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if we own Greenland, we already have Alaska, which is pretty far north, and then we have Greenland, which literally just puts us a stone throw from Russia and everything else on the other side. Controlling the Arctic is a very, very powerful thing. So it makes sense.
I agree. And what's underneath the ground is also important there, Eric.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of oil and other resources that we don't know about.
Oh, yeah. So he wants a drill, baby. What the hell was that? He wants a drill, baby, drill. But up there in Greenland, he didn't say where. But now it's become apparent that he wants to drill in Greenland.
No, I'm sure. I'm sure he wants to drill anywhere that he can drill it. If there's resources, go for it. Let me see. Goose Toots wants to know what happened to the $5 footlong.
Dude, that's what I thought. The $5 footlong is now the $15 footlong. Just without the delivery and all the stuff. Eric is right. That footlong would have been $15 by itself. You could make the $5 footlong and then keep $10.
Yeah, well,
dude, I remember that $5 footlong. I was eating that all the time.
Oh yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's been gone since, shall we say, 2020, folks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
If you think about it, it lines up pretty well. Something happened in 2020, 2021 that seemed to change it.
So dark.
All right. Anne of Vroom wants to know, question, what new are we going to learn about the Kennedy assassination this year?
Well, if Trump, first of all, it's 2 things. One is that somebody, and I don't know who the designated person is, but I'd volunteer, and I put together that trio. It didn't include myself, of Jim DiEugenio and Rex Bradford and what's his face, David, who wrote the RFK book. Those three could work underneath the tutelage of RFK Jr. Now that we've gotten rid of Amaryllis Fox, who offered to do it herself, no thanks, thank you, lady. Now that she's gone,
which Bobby, I think, put up to do it.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. The David O. Russell is who I was talking about, the author of Men Who Spoke Too Much, and Rex Bradford of the Mary Farrell Foundation, and our own Jim DiEugenio. Those are the three that I'd like to troll through, like the Twitter files did with Taibbi and what's her name from the New York Times, Barry Weiss, without Schellenberger, sans Schellenberger. But that being said, I don't know who is going to be designated to go through those files, because somebody's been going through my files. Have you been going through my files? Who's been going through my files? Nah, Chief, there's a lot of strange things that happen here. Even you'd be first to admit that. Jack Lemmon will, and the scene from JFK. Anyway, look, whoever goes through the files is going to turn up something. So I don't know what we don't know is the answer to that question yet, right? All I know is one thing: it ain't going to be James Files, who, by the way, apparently somebody pointed out was there when I was there. And I saw him out of the corner of my eye when I was at the picket fence. He was over by the stairs selling shit.
Yeah, he was hanging out the picket fence that day. Yeah, there's
no, but
pictures
I mean,
of him there.
He was revolving around. But I remember when I was at the picket fence, he was on the steps on the other side, and I saw him out of the corner of my eye. I didn't acknowledge him. But somebody said it. I'm sorry. Somebody wrote in the comment section yesterday that they saw him there.
Yeah, he was there
at the same time.
He was there, and JVB was at Oswald's.
Oh, right. Site. That's right. I forgot about that too.
Yeah, they had to be there for the 60th.
Well, they're paid operatives. Why not? I mean, you can't just sit on. You know, it's a holiday. It's not a paid holiday for them. That's the day that they have to go to work.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. I mean, well, James, Files. There's 2 videos that have come out in the past like 3 weeks. Both have over 1 million views on it, which just is like figures.
That's why they do it. It's not a question of figures. That's why they do it. That's why they attack the Zapruder film. That's why they denounce a lot of things. That's why they create these people. That's why it figures. I mean, they're not going to take somebody who's, you know, ineffectual.
As a hardworking YouTuber, it's kind of frustrating to see that it's like, oh, great. You can just have somebody go out there and blah, blah,
somebody's
blah.
making money off of that too, just off the channel itself.
And that's the same channel that has the Chauncey Holt interview that got dug up from the 90s.
Yeah.
So,
well, the channel is probably linked to the agency that's operating it, that's using these guys, and the whole thing is probably run out of, you know, Langley itself, with a couple of cutouts in between.
Could be a question from locals. How ironic that Biden is the current president, so he is delivering Carter's eulogy. How do you think that will go?
Well, that's funny. Secondly, I don't know if he can legally make this a national holiday. He's made it a day of no work for his state funeral, but he's also said that he's created a national holiday. I think you need the Senate and the House to do that, Eric. The last time I looked, right? He just can't unilaterally make a national federal holiday.
Well, you could declare. I think you could declare anything a day. You just can't make it an official holiday. Right, it's like this is a day of revenge. Okay.
Well, I hope Trump gets rid of it, because he's certainly no fan of Trump. Again, his appeasement of these people who attack him is really, really anger provoking. You know, he's going on what a great guy he is and all this other bullshit. The guy never met a terrorist he didn't like. He created incredible chaos around the world. He was in there for 4 years. And until this recent president was in the worst president's Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. He's been replaced by this cat who's currently there, birds of a feather. I mean, both of them with 34% approval ratings at this time.
Yeah,
One guy's dead, and the other guy just passed away the other day.
yeah, that's true. Well, I think this guy's probably worse, definitely for the bottom, but it's a hard call. It's a hard call.
They kept saying that he is a decent man who was a terrible president. He wasn't a decent man, and he was a terrible president. He just wasn't a crook like Biden's a crook in terms of his hand in the cookie jar. But if you listen to Ron Kessler and other people who worked with him, and the people who were Secret Service around him for a number of years, he never acknowledged them, never spoke to them. He would carry phony, empty luggage on camera, and then have the Secret Service carry his own luggage, which was filled with bags. There's all kinds of insane things that Jimmy Carter demonstrated to be a despicable human being. I mean, this is absurd. I mean, people hated this guy's guts. He was a despicable man who treated people like shit. They made it seem like this guy was above the fray. There's a reason he's a despicable scumbag. He did despicable acts.
Okay, I didn't follow all that. I knew about Habitat for Humanity, and that was
that's just a bullshit cover story, bro. I'm talking about the man himself, the man, how he treated people. Never, ever in 4 years did he ever even ask or get the name of any Secret Service agent who was protecting him. He had them carrying his bags while he carried empty bags to make him look like he was a man of the people. It was all a bullshit cover story by this guy.
Okay.
I'm just saying, people, yeah. I grew up with him. So, there's people who know the real Jimmy Carter. And what's happened is during the fog of time, this Habitat for Humanity bullshit story has surfaced that he was a man of the people.
Yeah, and yes, it has. 100%.
Yeah.
Honestly, I grew up.
Not to mention, I'm sorry,
but I was 6 years old.
Right. No. Not to mention the gas lines, the alternating days you could buy gas. That. The Malaise speech where you had to wear a sweater. He comes on with a sweater saying you got to turn your thermostats all the way down to save energy to 68 degrees in your house. It was nonstop with this guy. And don't forget the Black Hawk helicopters. People forget the hostage crisis that went on for 400 and some odd days. He didn't lift a goddamn finger. They were trapped in that embassy in Tehran. Then he sends the Black Hawk helicopters. Of course, they crash in the desert. The guy was inept in every single aspect. I'll give you a better one. He hated the military so much. He had the guy with the nuclear football stay 10 miles from his house because he didn't want to be associated or be seen with a military officer to stay in his own house. And they said, sir, you can't do that. And he goes, well, I'm doing it. Everywhere he went, this guy was not allowed to be with him. The truth about Jimmy Carter has got to come out at some point.
Nope. We could do an episode in a year.
Fucking dead bastard. And not to mention his hatred of Israel and the Jews and everything else. Put it this way. Abad came out today celebrating Jimmy Carter, the head of the PLO. Nonstop celebrations today by the PLO. That's who this guy is. If the Third Reich comes out and celebrates you, I think you might have a problem of character.
Fair enough.
Let me just put it that way. Okay. Mahmoud Abbas, who has a PhD in Holocaust denial, and there actually is a PhD you could get at the University of Palestine in denying the existence of the Holocaust, which Abbas has a PhD in. That's who his best friend is, Jimmy Carter.
All right. Bighorn Shaver says, question, did I hear Eric read a locals chat this early in the show? Yes, there was a question.
I guess this guy didn't get the press release.
No,
people just wake up and they just roll and go, hey, what's going on, man? What's this all about? The guys.
No, I typically don't immediately, but I did here. I'm trying to mix things in, but we're definitely piling up. Let me see. Gino, super chat. All I want for 2025, 40% of government workers gone. Go Luigi, straight to hell. My cancer side effects to go away.
Right on.
Great health to you and Mark and Chick D for free.
And Chick D. Oh, I don't know what that Chick Delight. The Chick.
I don't know what the Chick D is, but okay. Well, thank you very much. Mental Jiu-Jitsu. Is there anyone who has done a deep dive on Clay Shaw's World War II service? The man started out as a private in a medical unit and was somehow commissioned as an officer and finished the war as a major.
Yeah, we covered that in the Clay Shaw episodes, and he was deep state even then. We also covered his play, which he did in a submarine. The set was a submarine with these sweaty men. I think we covered a lot of this. How many episodes were there on Clay Shaw?
Just one, I think.
Okay, well, it's in there.
I think it was. I don't know if we covered him more with David Ferry and the Murettes. There was some. Was he tied in with the Murettes or them? Or
not really, anyway. Not really. But Clay Shaw episodes cover a portion of his work.
I know he came up during the Murettes because he spoke at the same place that the Murettes spoke at that college.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. But that's an interesting fact.
So true. And then there's Q&As that he could have come up on. There's a lot of them. Question: will the January 6th prisoners be released in 2025? I hope so.
It's not a question of hope. It's a question of tomorrow. I mean, January 20th, in 19 days, he has claimed that he's going to pardon him on day one. Well, January 20th is day one. If he's back, it's not a question of hope. I mean, if we're down to hope on this thing, we're fucked. I mean, he is boldly, Eric.
He has said it. So yeah. But am I saying that it's definite? No. On January 20th, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Or 21st. So, he has said things I will do in the past that have not happened.
Well, this would be a bold move if he doesn't do it, because he has said it even recently.
I know, which I'm glad about. I'm glad every time that he says it again and again. But meanwhile, people are still getting locked up, still getting arrested while we speak. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Did radio drama, The Shadow, etc., play any part of your childhood, Mark?
Nah, I never listened to that crap. One thing I did listen to. No, I'm not that old, bro. One thing I did listen to was they used a computer, and I don't know what the state of the computer world was in that time, but they had Computer World Series with announcers announcing fictional World Series like the 1918 White Sox versus the 1963 Yankees or the Dodgers in 60. They took these years. It was kind of that I listened to. It was kind of a fascinating. If anybody remembers that, please say something in the chat or the comment section, because I think I might be imagining it. But they used a computer and the names of all the players and their statistics, and it didn't matter what year it was. It like crossed decades, and they would take an American League team from 1961 versus a National League team from 1935. And they had a professional announcer announcing these games, and it was called the Computer World Series on the radio, is why I'm mentioning this. And I thought it was fascinating. But as for those radio shows, they weren't.
I listened to them as a kid because I get the tapes from the library.
Right. They weren't as in vogue then, because TV was really was kicked in pretty heavily, where you're watching Gunsmoke and all these different Westerns that were on. And then you got into other things like, Get Smart and Gilligan's Island and Beverly Hillbillies later. But it was the golden age of television, the second golden age. Let me put it that way. It's considered like the second golden age.
Okay. Well, I know I did because I wasn't allowed to watch television a whole lot. And I would get up from the library.
You were in the cult?
No, partly they just didn't want me watching TV a lot as a kid. Okay. It's not healthy.
Right.
I never personally was in that. My mom was, but
right.
ASMR Lightning with $13.99. Thank you very much.
It's all ASMR, bro. Everything's about ASMR. Thank you. That was great. ASMR.
Robert Preston, question: American story of John Dillinger, Depression hero, bank robber as a hero.
It's been done a million times. There's 5 movies. I mean, I think Dillinger is being kind of covered.
He's not really a hero. The last time I checked, I think he was a killer.
Yeah, he was really a killer. I mean, but again, this is Hoover ostracized the guy who did kill him because he didn't want another hero in the FBI. So that's a weird story.
Yeah, Melvin Purvis. That would actually be a better story, I think, because didn't he also take down Bonnie and Clyde?
I think
maybe
he took
not
down one or the other. I think he took down Bonnie and Clyde, but whoever shot Dillinger got sent to the deep state of, or the deep woods of the FBI.
Atlanta IT, will the Biden executive orders be reversed in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, the controversial ones will. The question is now, will he pardon all the illegal aliens? I mean, that's really the question here, because his predecessor, Jimmy Carter, who he loved so much, pardoned 200,000 draft dodgers with no names, a blanket pardon. And he is thinking, or the word is leaking out, that he is going to issue a blanket pardon for every single person who crossed the border illegally.
God.
Oh yeah, God, that's right. That's the power of these.
How many non-citizens have been pardoned?
How many non-citizens? Jimmy Carter pardoned.
No, but those are draft dodgers. Those are
American. No.
Citizens.
You didn't let me finish. He pardoned the assassins that tried to kill Truman and the ones who shot up the House of Representatives, the Puerto Ricans.
But they were Americans.
They were Puerto Ricans. They weren't.
But they're still part of America. Puerto Rico was part of America at the time. I'm wondering.
1954, 1952. These were people who were terrorists who wanted independence as a country. I think we did an episode, didn't we?
I understand that, but what I'm trying to say is I question, because of the citizenship aspect of it.
Right,
Puerto Ricans technically are Americans. People coming in from Venezuela are not Americans. I don't know. And I don't know what the limitations are in pardons or whatever, but that would be an interesting question. And yes, I know they're Puerto Rican nationalists, folks, but that doesn't, they were trying to say, we don't want to be part of America. You shoved it down our throats, but they technically were. So I don't know if that's a factor. Scott Bimbo, my childhood neighbor was Kipper Marley. I sent Eric information about his connection to McCain and Arizona corruption. I have to look up. That's possible. I do have a lot of incoming emails, and Mark can confirm, because a lot just gets forwarded to him as well.
About what?
Everything.
Who is Kemper Marley? Bob Marley's brother?
Somebody in Arizona.
Oh, I got you. I'm sorry. I didn't see the rest of it.
Question, what's the deal with those cops in your chat? How do you know they aren't working with the deep state?
What cops?
He's probably talking about Al Gonzalez, because we've met him. Okay.
Because I've hung out with them. What do you? I think I know these guys now. They're deep state. They're phony cops.
I mean, okay. Let me see. Got that. Tommy. Are you guys excited for the most in-depth JFK video ever made, coming out February 15th on the Franchise Club, part of the Archie Luxury Channel universe?
No idea what you're talking about, but thanks for.
I think that's a joke.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is. What's the Franchise Club?
I don't know.
Sounds like big. It sounds like a big promise, but thanks for the money, and I wish your channel the best.
Yeah. Okay. Me Burke, question: do we think Crooks was the only shooter? Yes.
Boy, it took a while for that story to go away. Remember that guy? He just wouldn't stop, Eric. That non-stop crazy guy who had deep state connections himself. That guy was sketchy.
Yeah, I forget the one tied to Oracle.
Yeah. And they kept saying, "No, he's a good guy now. You don't understand."
Oh no, you're talking about the other guy. Yeah. There's a couple of them.
Remember, he was tied to Pfizer or something with Big Pharma, and they said, "Well, that was years ago." And
well, it's funny because we tend to be selective about that. If we like them, well, that was years ago. If we don't like them, then
I try to err on the side of like, I'd rather not get involved with you, and not judge them at all.
Well, consistency is helpful. It's like, is it bad?
I'm sure there's some good guys in there, but I can't weed it out myself, so I can't vouch for any of them. That's my modus operandi.
All right. Sean Lucan gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships, which we appreciate very, very much.
Thank you.
And Scott Biddle, Mark, doesn't them going after H-1B show their commitment? Hiring immigrants is cheaper for them. Also, stopping H-1B means less immigrants. So isn't a way to show Doge is not only to work on government? What?
I don't know, kind of contradicted yourself there, I think. But what I was saying was the fact that they made this the first thing, and it is important to their own business models, indicated to me that it was self-interest that drove that train right out of the gate. That's all I was saying.
I have to look at the timeline on that, honestly, because it blew up so quickly. I don't know if it was like, oh my God, H-1Bs are number one priority, and we're going to talk about it, or if in an interview somebody asked them about it and like, hey, I think it's a good thing, and then it was like, what are you talking about? And then they double down, and it's like blown up.
I don't know. All I know is that story became the number one story for a number of days, and it shouldn't even have been a story yet.
Well, yes, especially when you're talking 65,000 versus 10 million.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's bizarre. I don't know how it originated. You'd have to drill down and see where it came from, if you want to. I'm just talking about the overall story. It should not have been in the news zeitgeist yet, and it may have been
almost feels like an op. Almost feels like an op.
I don't know. I just think it's something that maybe they got suckered into. I don't know.
Well, let's just say that it is a beautiful story to show MAGA fighting against themselves.
Yeah.
And who benefited more than anything on that? Anybody?
I don't know. They do say that Trump likes to pit one side against the other in a lot of controversial issues, and then come down on one side after he's heard the fight. So again, it could have come from him for all I know.
It could have, but I will tell you that it was funny that the entire time that was going on, I didn't hear much about illegal immigration at all.
Well, I mean, look, Homan's got his knife sharp, and nothing's going to stop Homan. So whether you need to continue to do a PR thing on this Homan front may not be necessary, because Homan is loaded for bear. That train has left the station. This thing kind of caught me by surprise. I'm going like, why is anybody talking about this now? And then I hear him using foul language, Musk, and just going berserk over this thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Jason Willis, nice hat, guys. Happy New Year. Thank you, Jason. Lisa Dede, will the truth about Matthew Crooks be told?
Something, Lisa, thank you. Maybe, but something's got to give with this story. I mean, there's just too many, let me just say, loose ends, right, Eric? Yeah. I mean, the phones that he had, the overseas account. I mean, something's got to give here. Something's got to give.
Well, I mean, some of that's dependent on Trump. If he says, "I want to know what happened,"
well, you're going to be the boss. It could depend on Kash Patel. If he gives him the independence to do what he wants, then Kash Patel's the guy.
Well, between him and the AG,
right? But there's nothing to really prosecute. What I'm saying is, Kash Patel is an FBI, the head of the FBI. Okay. He's going to come into a treasure trove of information, and then he can issue a report, a statement, or an assassination, a report,
an investigation. But hold on, it's not only, there is more to find out, because there are two. One person was murdered, so you do have a state case for sure.
But the murderer is dead.
That may be, but there's still other factors.
Right, I'm saying those
Secret Service dropping the job.
But those are all separate. Those are all separate issues. I'm saying Kash Patel is the link of all those separate issues. I think, as the head of the FBI, or can make himself the link.
Him and whoever's ultimately in charge of the Secret Service as well should be investigating their own bit, and Trump should be demanding it. I mean, he can't
investigate themselves. I wouldn't want the FBI to investigate themselves either. But again. What about the parents? I mean, what about a lot of these things? Where are these phones, and where are these accounts that he supposedly had? I mean, there's legitimate questions about Crooks. I'll just leave it at that.
Right, and there are potential accomplices, beforehand, or whatever.
I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. But Patel's got to put out an FBI report on the Matthew Crooks affair. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. SUSAN of NJ, can you please say hello to my mom, Janice, and Uncle Joe watching for the first time? Hey, Janice and Uncle Joe, how are you? Good to have you.
They're from New Jersey.
Okay. Well, say hello.
They're from Jersey. They don't get that. Sorry. Happy New Year, Uncle Joe. Give me a break.
All right. Oh, good God. David JB, Mark, check out the Charles Bugney recent video on YouTube. He's done extensive Dealey Plaza bullet trajectory research and agrees with your theory regarding the second shooter firing from Commerce Street side of triple overpass. Perfect alignment.
Yeah, it's obvious. I mean, you don't have to. I don't have to look at his video to find out what's obvious. It's obvious to me for so many years and for so long that, and it's surprising that nobody has gotten on board this bandwagon. Once you stand up there and you see the angle into Kennedy's throat and through the windshield, and the bullet doesn't traverse, it doesn't come out of his the back of his neck, which means it could have had a suppressor, it could have been whatever, these loads that were semi loads or whatever, but it goes through the windshield and into his throat. There was plenty of shrapnel on the floor of the limo, by the way, for people who are wondering what happened to that particular bullet. It could have come out and transporting him to the hospital, whatever. Plenty of shrapnel was found on the floor. It was raining down bullets, according to the Secret Service agent in the shotgun seat. But nevertheless, it's clear it couldn't come from anywhere else. It only lines up to this one spot. Despite what people say, Gerald Ford moved the autopsy photo, altered the autopsy sketch to move it up to the back of his neck so the bullet could go through the back of his neck and come out the throat. And he admits he did that for the good of the American people. Okay, anyone who talks about a back wound after reading that is a schmuck. Let's just face it. Got shot in the upper right shoulder. That bullet went in about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. They probed the wound in the back. That thing was half of a finger, half of a pinky, according to the Parkland doctors. But Gerald Ford, because I guess he wanted to be president one day, took the autopsy sketch and moved that bullet wound to the back of Kennedy's neck so it would line up with the entrance wound in the throat. Okay, that didn't fake me out, and it didn't fake anybody out who was a JFK researcher. That's been known for 50 years. But if you look at the front, if you go up there in Dealey Plaza and go into the overpass on the federal building side over there, you can see where the X is, that it lines up perfectly with that throat wound. What happened to that bullet? I presume it was either dislodged or came out into the limo or was lost in transport.
But we still do appreciate somebody doing forensic analysis
to
prove the point, and we're not going to degrade his work.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I'm not degrading it. I'm just saying I haven't seen it.
So I mean that's good. It's always helpful to do that now. Helena Oljanik, I never can say that right, with a super sticker. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, Gino said it was chicks for free. Sat his glasses down. So that's what was said earlier when I was saying chick Nadi or whatever. Remember, we were like trying to figure it out. It's chicks for free that he meant.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for clarifying, and Dikash.
I think this might have something to do with a rock lyric, "Money for Nothing," and a chick.
Yeah. Mark Knopfler, Dire Straits. Question. This is from Pirate Ken. Was Lee Harvey Oswald's time at the Riley Coffee Company more of a limited ruse to keep him near local contacts such as Guy Bannister, the Crescent City Garage, or other local contacts? Happy holidays.
Riley was a deep state operation that was used as cover stories for not just Oswald, but others to have a 9-to-5 job. So
yes.
The answer is it yes or no question?
I said ultimately was his time there more of a limited ruse to keep him.
No, but I'm saying that Riley Coffee Company did this with other people besides Oswald.
Question, Mark, do you think Biden, as a hint that he stole the elections and kiss my grits pardon all of the January 6th on 19th at 11:59? What?
Who, Biden? Really? I don't think that's going to happen, bro. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's the only pardons I don't think he'll give.
Yeah, he'll pardon everybody else, but he ain't pardoning them. You know, it's funny because he came out against Merrick Garland for being too soft on Trump and too slow in the lawfare prosecutions of Trump and too aggressive on his own son. But people missed the first part of that, and that he was not aggressive enough on Trump, thereby admitting the long.
That's what he wanted.
No, but I'm saying it's the first official admission of lawfare and using the Department of Justice to go after his opponent. That's never been admitted.
That's what I said. Yeah.
What did you say?
I agreed. I said he admitted out loud that that's what he wanted.
Right, but I'm saying that's in the permanent record now. You know that he, yeah.
Let me see. Ithaca 37 Cato from Rumble said, FYI, Robert Barnes says, even if Biden mass pardons the illegals, Trump can still deport them.
Yes.
The U.S. has deported U.S. citizens in the past.
That is correct, because you have no explanation for being here.
Right, okay, so there's no crime, but get out.
Right. You would be essentially someone who, in theory, overstayed their college visa. Mm-hmm. You just can't be here because your visa ran out. You're not arrested for a crime. Technically, I guess your visa ran out, but you could still be deported. And as Barnes said, they deported people who were communists and all kinds of people back in the old days in the 1920s.
True.
Who hadn't legally, done anything illegal.
Right. And honestly, the illegals right now are just being deported. It's not like they're getting locked up or in prison.
No,
they're being deported. They're being kicked out.
There should be some place, they will have a place to hold them temporarily, before they go, I assume, the roundup.
Right. Janet S. wanted to thank you for mentioning the truth about Carter, especially the fact that everyone seems to be forgetting our hostage.
Yeah, I mean, the hostage thing in Iran. Look, he allowed the Ayatollahs to take over Iran. Forget about the hostage thing for a second. He allowed a theocracy that may or may not be nuclear armed someday, folks, to take over this pretty large oil-rich country on his watch.
All right, Scott Bimbo saying, does Eric remember the Don Ballas bombing regarding his last comment? Was that the reporter who got blown up in
Arizona? Yeah.
I have not dug deep into it, but I do vaguely remember about a reporter getting car bombed. Broad, I don't know how to say that. Question: at Carter's funeral, will there be white envelopes handed out to ex-POTUS like they did at the Bush funeral? And what were these messages anyway? I don't.
It could be just a condolence.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think it is, bro? The nuclear code? I mean, think about it in your crazy mind, not you personally, but where would your craziest thoughts go? That's what's in that envelope, that they had to do this on camera to pass out an envelope to these guys sitting in the front row.
That they couldn't do it any other time. There's no way they couldn't,
it's such a lack of creativity. But it was Reagan's funeral, and what's her name from the Reagan administration, the former defense, what's her name? She has black hair, and she's on TV a lot now. She's kind of she was in the Trump administration, the first term. She was at the funeral of Reagan, and all the presidents were sitting together, and over at the side was the Carters, and no one spoke to them. No one spoke to Reagan's funeral. And the second one was, I think it was the former senator of Pennsylvania who ran for president, Republican senator of Pennsylvania, ran for president. He was at an Atlanta Braves game with the Pirates because he was with his little kid, and he was in Pennsylvania. The Braves were playing. It must have been in Atlanta because Ted Turner was there with Jane Fonda. And they were fawning over his kid, Jane Fonda and Ted Turner. This is a sitting senator from Pennsylvania. And in front of him was Jimmy Carter and Rosalind Carter. And they never turned around to even say hello. the entire game. I mean, it's just anecdotal after anecdotal after anecdotal story of what a prick this guy was, and a self-serving prick who thought he was better than everybody else.
All right. Another of our favorite topics. Wayne Zimnock question: what did Dorothy know?
Yeah, we'll never know now because she didn't get a book deal. Not that she had 18 months to get a book deal, but she didn't get a book deal, so we'll never know.
Patty Cakes question: did Oswald try to make a phone call from jail?
Of course. And in fact, two phone calls. I mean, one was into North Carolina, and another one was two of them went to Ruth Payne. He made that call, and then he made the North Carolina call, which was to his handler outside of Raleigh. We know that because the call sheet was preserved by the jail operator who took it out of the garbage when her shift came on from the previous shift. And that was traced back to a military intelligence guy outside of Raleigh.
All right, fair enough. Let's see, hold on. Oh, by the way, when we're talking about the envelope thing, this one has been bugging me lately because you've heard the thing about Elon Musk and Adrian Dittman on X, right? That there's an account who's.
You could tell him. Go ahead. I just gotta go. I'll be right back.
Okay. Anyway, Elon Musk has supposedly a vocal doppelganger, or the guy literally is a vocal doppelganger. If you listen to Adrian Dittman, Elon Musk, and they have appeared together on at least one X Spaces, and they sound really similar. It's almost spooky. Now, people do have vocal doppelgangers out there, just like there are some people who look like other people. You know, with the 8 billion people on the planet, there's some people who look like they're almost identical twins, and it's very, very spooky. The part that I find hilarious is everyone, here we go. Adrian Dittman is Elon Musk's account. Everybody is talking about how Elon Musk could use the technology to be talking to himself as Adrian Dittman. Where is the logic that you're going to have a burner account to have somebody saying stuff who sounds exactly like you on other feeds? It makes no sense. What would be the motivation? Typically, when we have a burner account or something else, we're going to be disguised as somebody else. We're going to pretend to be somebody else. We're not going to be like, oh, hey, here am I. I'm sounding exactly like myself with my distinct voice that everybody can pick up. So it does not make logical sense. I'm not saying that, yes, here you go. It's AI, dude. Well, okay. Why are you going to put forth an AI voice that sounds like yourself to talk to the world? Doesn't make sense. The only thing that actually does make sense that it is somebody else. Anyway, I was just going on. Everybody is going on and on because the guy sounds identical to Elon Musk. They're saying that that's actually Elon Musk who's going into other spaces. So, Mark, tell me, if you're going to have a fake account or an alternate account to where you go to other places, would you do it in your own voice and sound exactly like yourself so everybody say that that's you?
Right. Well, who do you think it is? It's this other guy, or
somebody else who just sounds like him. And
okay. Didn't we talk about this last week that the guy might have been South African?
Well, I think he is South African. I mean, there are many people from South Africa or similar.
Right. So he may have a similar patois to Musk.
Yes, he sounds spookily very, very, very close. But I'm
even
just saying,
with AI, somebody could monkey around and make a Musk voice, right?
100%. But why would Musk do it? That's my thing. Is people are like, that's
Musk is doing it.
Yeah, they're saying it's Elon Musk. It's really him.
Why would he do that?
Thank you. Why, if you're going to have another account and another name, why make it absolutely identical to yourself? Oh, I'm going to sneak around and say, it doesn't make sense.
That's crazy.
Anyway, let me see. Galveston Country Mike. I joined the U.S. Marines Corps, when Carter was president, he simply crushed the morale of the U.S. Armed Forces back then. It was quite bad.
He hated the military. That's why I mentioned the thing about the nuclear football. He did not want to be seen with anyone in a military uniform. He literally had a standing order that even with the guy with the nuclear football couldn't be next to him.
Yep.
Now again, he was a Navy guy, right? I mean, he had served.
Yeah, that is the weird part. Well, I can see a Navy guy might hate Marines. Actually, that there is some tension in the between the two, especially. Well, a lot of Marines, especially, don't like the Navy because they're kind of like the redheaded stepchildren. They have to depend on the Navy for their budget. They have to depend on transportation. They're sort of always under the thumb of the Navy, which can grate on nerves. At times. Marlene, had Mr. Grobert revised his prediction that all 3 late night talk show hosts would be fired by tonight? How's it looking?
I didn't say about tonight.
I don't think so.
I'm not revising my prediction at all. I think all 3 will be gone shortly.
Yeah. Dude, you wanted at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. Let's go. Get your stuff and get out.
Hey, Gino solved the white envelope.
Okay.
I just saved $522 on my car insurance.
That's funny.
I could totally see that. And Gino also gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. So
thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me go back, and do we have any questions? Locals. No Sniper in the Nest wants to know, question. You did a movie about JFK, the movie, which was one of your top 10 for the year. Was there a fact or two that was portrayed in the movie that Mark simply thinks is false? Well, yeah, the tramps were a little.
Yeah, he explained it, Oliver, that what he knows now, what is not what he knew then. But that's to be expected. It's from 1991. I mean, the tramp stuff came out in 92, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot has come out since that movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of stuff. I mean, the tramps is the most obvious one.
And he also kind of regretted listening so much to Prouty, right?
Prouty was too much. Changing Ruth Payne's name. He told me that he if he had his to the Williams, if he had his druthers, he would have had her sue him to at least get the discovery part of the lawsuit by Ruth Payne against him. She was considered litigious. Warner Brothers talked him into it, to changing the name. He agreed to it, so it was on him, but he regrets having changed their name.
Yeah, and I can see why. Okay, here's an important question. Victor Cardone wants to know, Ginger or Marianne?
I think I like Ginger better.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
I think I might have liked Marianne. But...
Dude, what about when someone answers Gilligan?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, there's people out there who would prefer Gilligan.
I know Gilligan always cracked me up. Bob Denver with his that we all know him as Gilligan, but he was in Dobie Gillis before that.
Yeah, of course.
And he was like a total hipster stoner. And I think the Dobie Gillis character actually matched the real Bob Denver more than Gilligan, because I remember years later, didn't he get in a ton of trouble of always getting busted with weed?
Yeah, he was a pothead. He was a pothead.
Anyway, just an interesting factor. We have any here. God. Sorry, I'm just looking at All right, let's see what we got. Any questions in here? There's a lot of chats, but it's like a matter of getting to. Oh. All right, Nick Guesti said, welcome 2025, year of MAGA. Let's hope.
Well, let's hope. That seems to be suspect at this time. But I mean,
we can't even get a speaker put through.
That's what I was just going to say. I mean, what happens with Johnson now? I mean, Chip Roy came out today, said he doesn't have the votes. There's about 12 who are not going to vote for him come hell or high water. If there's no speaker, how do you certify Trump his election next week? I mean, I don't know how that happens. I mean, there's a lot of question marks here. I mean, not to mention the flag will be at half staff for 30 days for the inaugural. That's I don't know if that's ever happened before.
I don't know. It's going to get very confusing because Trump, like the H-1B, Trump came out and he said, you know what, I agree with them.
He did that about Mike Johnson today.
And no, I know that's why I was following up with the Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
And then now what's happening? Well, half of these people are saying, you know what, screw you, Trump. So where are we going here? And this is this is
all of this was unnecessary. If they'd all just shut their mouths, get into power, and then do all this stuff January 21st. All unnecessary.
But here we are.
He becomes the most powerful man in the earth in 20 days, and apparently that's not enough for people.
Well, it's like we can't even get to 20 days.
We can't even get to there without self-immolating. Amazing.
So good times had for all. And by the way, you know who's looking really, really sharp in all this is Dan on two-way. Because how many times did Dan sit there? Every time they were talking, he's like, yeah, well, this is the honeymoon right now. Yeah. Let's just see what happens when he has to govern. Let's just see what happens.
He's right. And also Trump knows the reason for the drones. Remember, he was very the cat who caught the canary. He knew, and he couldn't say. He did say that the government knew about the drones, and I can't say if I was even briefed on the drones. But he knows the reason for the drones. So hopefully that'll be resolved.
Or it'll just be, it won't be in the headlines. So
right, but I think he owes it to us to explain what happened with the drones, headlines and no headlines. Since he's made statements about that the government, these are government drones, the government knows where they're going, where they're coming from. Okay, then fill us in 20 days.
Okay, well, let's put a pin in that.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to talk about it.
Oh, I don't think so either. But that's the stuff that people dislike him for.
Oh, it's very, very irritating.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Susan said, Trump has told everyone to shut their mouths. Yeah, how's that working out?
Yeah, how's now? You told me the cow's out of the barn, the horse out of the barn.
I do want. Well, he likes playing these games, and I feel like it's gonna blow up on him. But what are you gonna do?
He's now finally saying to shut the fuck up. He's not. I mean, finally, even he's now saying it.
Well, I mean, he's gonna have to put something behind it because it's like. There's all kinds of people. I mean, Bannon is one of the hardest people going at it right now.
Yeah.
And
again, they couldn't leave well enough alone. I said this 50 times on this show that wait till you get into power. Stop putting these people. Ask Matt Gaetz how that worked out for him.
Yeah, or at least do it behind closed doors.
Oh, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
quietly.
I don't care. Behind closed doors, don't do it. Yeah.
I mean, good God. I don't know. Anyway, JFK question: if there was a triangulation of Crossfire and Dealey, what is your opinion on no one on the driver's side not getting injured? What? There's some double negatives in there.
The bullet goes through the windshield and it misses. It's really a headshot if it doesn't hit the windshield. That game would have been over. But you don't have to be a terrible marksman to not hit Greer driving. I mean, that's why you do have triangulation of fire, is because there are people that could be in the way. If you just had one assassin for any assassination, somebody could get in the way, or they could turn their head like Trump did with Matthew Crooks. You've got the grassy knoll, and then you've got the second floor of the building and back of adjacent to the Texas School Book Depository. I mean, it's a clear shot to his back from the second floor window. It's a clear shot to his head from the picket fence. It's a clear shot to the throat from the overpass near the federal building. Those three seem to line up even today. I mean, pretty accurately.
Yep. And by the way, it is there. This is a double negative, so technically
It's a double negative, but I'll
it's-
answer with
yeah.
2 words. I'll answer with 2 words. John Connolly, who apparently does not fit into your equation, who was shot.
All right. This is probably something we could talk for a minute about. Question: when you guys going to come to DC area for a show?
Never going to happen. That's never going to happen. I hate that city. I'm never going to go there. I mean, it's just a shithole.
And as far as meetups, we haven't made up our mind about anything.
I don't want to go anywhere near that fucking piece of shit city. In fact, I don't think it should be a city. And Eric and I have talked about that quite a bit. And so is Trump, right, Eric? I mean, of decommissioning the city and getting government out of there, and moving it back into the hinterland where it belongs. And I mean, what is DC? What is that place? It's a place where you can't get a fair trial. It's a place where you can't get a fair jury. It's a place, which has incredible poverty, incredible crime. I mean, every single aspect of New York urban life and political life is negatively impacted by DC. Everything. The judges are insane, as Barnes points out. The juries are insane. It has an enormously large black population that lives in somewhat poverty with a high crime rate. It's just, their place is a nightmare. I mean, I've been there. I don't like going there.
Oh, in another words, it's a swamp.
It's a swamp.
Literally,
it was built on a
and
swamp.
truthfully. I mean, in every way.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, question. I thought the VP certified the vote. Yes, but the vote has to be done for them to certify.
Yeah. And they need the Speaker of the House.
VP will just be going, well, what do you want me to do? I mean, you've got to have something in front of you to certify. But if they can't get a speaker and they can't get anything done, what do they certify? Your thoughts, Mark?
No, you just said it. I mean, you're absolutely correct. You just said it. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is quite willing to step in. You know what I mean? I mean, they flipped about 3 House seats here that they stole in California, possibly 4. It's a minimum of 3 that they stole. And California's, or other states, California's long count and crazy local election laws have now impacted the national election results. And if they don't fix that, California is going to just take it to the next level in 2 years. They're just going to steal like 7 of them, 8 of them, 9 of them, because there's no check or balance on this long count election laws here on federal elections. And as I said before, let California do what they want in terms of local or state elections, Eric. But the federal elections have to be, I believe, uniformly governed. Federal, I'm just talking about state, Senate, Congress, President, those 3 have to have uniform laws because one state, like they just did, can affect the national outcome. That can't be allowed. Can't be allowed. And yet they did it here. They took 3. They could have taken more if they put their mind to it, but they're passing you'll love this, Eric. They're passing. They just passed new law, starts tomorrow, that outdoor venues, rock concerts, outdoor, state fairs and everything. Sacramento already has this. You could buy and smoke weed at these outdoor packed events. Okay,
but not cigarettes, I bet.
They're passing that starts tomorrow. That they're going to get it through in Long Beach. Restaurants that allow smoking weed in the restaurants with the food combination. So they passed legislation that you can't smoke in your own apartment, can't go out on the balcony, can't go in the back courtyard, can't go anywhere in your apartment. And the police have said, we're not going to enforce this. So they've created a snitch line where the neighbors can inform the landlord, and then you could be evicted for smoking cigarettes. But the weed lobby passed a proposition allowing you to smoke weed in the apartments. So now people are going to switch to spleefs, a combination of weed and tobacco, to get around the law, or you have to go to one of these outdoor events to smoke a cigarette. So all of these are crashing together tomorrow in California is the reason I'm mentioning it.
Okay, so I was right about that. No cigarettes, but you can smoke all the joints you want, no problem.
Right. Even at the Sacramento State Fair, which is a huge packed event, people are now subjected, or closed events like rock concerts, to inhale marijuana smoke of the guy sitting next to you in the seat that he bought for the same price as your seat.
Yeah, well, it sounds like Vegas. Go
Vegas
walk
City.
around there for a while, and I mean, you just smell it constantly.
No, but I'm talking about weed. I mean, there's people in recovery
that's
who
true.
don't want to breathe in marijuana smoke because they talk about second and third hand tobacco smoke in California. But what about second and third hand marijuana smoke?
I 100% agree.
Yeah,
I mean, it's. I mean, Dr. Drew should get on that.
Well, it's just happening now, so it's from the marijuana lobby. It's enormously strong.
And besides, anything that breaks down American culture or the fabric is going to be okay. I mean, look, if they had their option to let people shoot up at concerts.
Yep.
So,
well, that's next. They're not going to stop with marijuana. They've already said that. They're going to move into hallucinogens. But you don't understand, Mark. I took acid once. How dare you?
Oh, God. Let me see. David Acacia, question: should Congress hold hearings on the Church of Scientology's tax-exempt status?
I don't even know if you need to hold hearings because the IRS has the power to reverse that on their own. Probably, they could be sued by Scientology, and that's a separate issue. But it worked in reverse, where they tortured this poor guy. I mean, by following him and harassing him, the head of the IRS, whoever it was in 1978 or whatever year it was, they got the status. They just harassed him to death until the guy finally said, "I'm done with these people," and granted them tax exempt status. I mean, it could be reversed. It just takes some strong IRS leader to say, "Fuck these people."
It's true. Nick Quisty, I guess. Mark, one final come on, Bobby, for 2024, please. Love you guys.
Oh, come on, Bobby. Come on, boy.
There you go.
You know, there's certain debate as to whether that was a trick shotgun or not. By the way, what's his face? Moyer's son, who was running Hazleton, has come out with a book that he was in recovery, and somebody in our locals chat brought up the book. Got reviewed by somebody, not the book itself, but it was a review of the book. And in his book, he was on the board at Hazleton in Minnesota. This is the son of Bill Moyers. And it turns out he was loaded on opiates for many years, and he came clean, and he was afraid of losing his job. He was afraid of embarrassment. So he was loaded, you know, and he was supposed to be the model of recovery. Here was a guy, I never bought into this guy. He was on PBS all the time, on documentaries about, you know, recovery, and he was on the board of Hazleton, and wouldn't you know it, the guy was taking opiates and he was into painkillers and shit.
Lovely.
Yeah.
All right.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree is what I meant.
Midwest Mima, have either of you watched the doc called Kings of Tupelo, and what did you think?
Let me tell you something. This is one of the greatest documentaries of all time, Midwest Mima. I finished it last night. It's only 3 episodes. I wish it could have gone on longer. It's fucking insane. It's one of the craziest docuseries I've ever seen. When you get to part 3, it'll blow your mind. I was going to mention that. I'm glad you brought that up, despite the lack of funding for this question. It's just great. It's just totally. I'm going to leave it at that. Strongly 6 thumbs up. Totally bizarre. Totally. I don't even know what to make of it. It's so crazy because at the end, this story must have slipped through my cracks. I never heard anything about this, but it was down in Mississippi. So, but it becomes. I'm not going to say anything more. Just watch it. I think it's on Netflix. I did. No. I recommended it 2 weeks ago. I just happened to finish part 3 last night. So it's fresh in my mind, and holy crap, wonderful, Just wonderful.
All right. Pirate Ken. Question. You want a voice doppelganger? Try watching any interview with director William Friedkin. Close your eyes, and I guarantee this. You will swear it's Donald Trump.
That's funny.
Could be. I don't know if Friedkin sounds like other than Donald Trump, I guess now.
That's funny. William Friedkin as Donald Trump. Well, that impersonator is good.
Right. Well, that's deliberate. But yeah, there are vocal doppelgangers out there.
What is a guy who just sounds like someone?
Right. Instead of somebody who looks identical to somebody, they just sound identical to somebody.
Friedkin, it's an interesting guy, William Friedkin. You know, he
Exorcist, right?
Yeah, he's got a weird career, French Connection, and just a weird, choppy, weird career where the films don't match. You know, then there's not a central theme. You can't tell what a Friedkin. He did the Cruising with Al Pacino, To Live and Die in L.A., Sorcerer, The Boys in the Band, which was considered to be the first queer cinema film. He has a wife. He did The Caine Mutiny, Killer Joe. I mean, it's just, in other words, his films are just all over the map. There's no theme. He's not like a horror director. He's not a Cronenberg. I mean, just there's no connection to them.
Well, you know, another one of those is David Lynch.
Yeah, it's another guy like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because David Lynch did, you know, obviously Blue Velvet, Elephant Man, but then he did that one about the guy riding the lawnmower across the state. It was just a total, almost a movie of the week type of story. So it's just weird. OMG or OSG 318H said H-1B story started when Trump nominated an Indian for AI job in the White House. That's right. And then Loomer got head up about it.
The Indian, though, opened his mouth, though.
I think he just got the job. I don't know what he said other than thank you.
Right, no, I think he made some statements about it. I don't know. But it started with that guy. They're right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. Natalie McClendon, Happy New Year, Mark and Eric. Thank you, Natalie. It's very generous of you.
Natalie, where's your better half? What's going on? It's on Natalie's solo today.
No, he's in the picture. He's in there.
He's in the photo, but he's not saying anything. Thanks, Natalie. That's great.
Thank you very much. Seriously. Let's see. Coworker asked state rep for tickets to January 20th and keeps getting blown off from that office. Is that normal? Victoria Sparks.
Co-worker asks state Republican or state rep?
Probably a state representative. And there's only so many tickets and everybody wants them. I mean, Sean Spicer goes on about how he was going to put a thing out where people can go get them. And he's like, I don't have control over it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right.
So I think it probably
there's going to be a series of inaugural balls. I mean, it's how many there are, I don't know. You know, that's what all those millions go for Toyota and those donations. That's what they go for, not the inauguration of swearing in. It's for the balls, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the money, you got to rent the ballroom, food, drink, blah, blah, blah. That's where the donations go.
Well, there's plenty of donations to cover it. That's for sure.
Well, you don't know. I mean, people, what does it cover? Does it cover hotel rooms? I mean, you get invited to the inauguration. Do you get
everybody's given a stroke in $1 million check. So I'm sure that in the millions that have been donated towards the inauguration.
Will there be violence at night, in your humble opinion?
I'm hoping not.
Okay, you're a big hope guy.
Yeah, you know what? Because
I ask you if something's going to happen. You go, I hope a lot of things don't happen. But I'm asking you a question. I hope not.
Well, because I'm not going to get pinned down on a prediction.
Different thing. I'm asking you for predictions. You go, I hope not.
Well,
will the Dodgers repeat? I hope so.
I would have no idea on that one. The interesting username, the shit one, donated $100. So
is there a question?
It's just another great year. Love the content. And it's a Rumble rant. Thank you very much.
It's people who are quietly like the silent majority of America's Untold Stories who sit there alone in their living room watching the show, and they're not snarky. They're not nasty. They're not, doing anything but enjoying it, and they are underrepresented because they're quiet.
Mm-hmm. So, kind of like everybody in the population. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much. It's hard to say thank you to somebody called the SHIT1. It's like, I'm not trying to insult you, but that's your username. What do you want here? You're confusing me with this.
That is a weird one.
Kitty 724, wishing you both all the best health and happiness in 2025.
You can only go out. I went to the Grove last night. Eric is happy because my
oh yes, this is breaking news, folks.
Eric is happy that my computer came early, and I went to pick it up at the Grove last night, and I got it. I'm going to play around with it after the show, but you can't go out after 8:00 tonight, which is where I was going with this story, because of the gunfire that goes up into the air starting at about 9. So people literally do their shopping. You can't make this up. People literally do their shopping early in LA on New Year's Eve. There's nobody on the road. Because the gunfire can come down onto your car roof and do stuff. But basically, if you go out, you'll see people dashing to, if there are at night, they'll be dashing to wherever they're going. But the streets will be empty and they'll be shooting guns all night long.
Lovely.
All night long, just gunfire. All you Second Amendment people, come to New Year's Eve in LA and you'll have an orgasm.
Oh, I'm sure. Ithaca 37 Cato said, off-topic question: what is your opinion of civil rights lawyer William Kunstler? I have mixed feelings about him.
No, it's not a question of mixed feelings. I mean, obviously, he was a political, a political lawyer, but effectiveness is really how you have to judge Kunstler. I mean, he was effective for his clients. I'll just leave it at that. He would take a contempt citation and go to jail for the contempt and rack up contempt citations. You don't have to do that, but that's what he did. He was effective for his clients, which may be the ultimate compliment about a lawyer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Lee Dorsey wants to know, why can't we pay migrants to leave?
Yes, I have brought this up, and somebody brought this up yesterday on Newsmax. I have promoted this idea with the Palestinians for many, many years. Sweden is now doing it because they've been inundated with illegal aliens that are not assimilating. Legal aliens. I take that back. Not even illegal. Legal aliens. They're paying them $36,000.
That's why they have to pay them, because they're legal.
I had brought this up to nobody ever responded for years and years about paying the Palestinians to get out and taking the money and going somewhere with it. And this is now being done, and it could be done here. In terms of, look, I mean, somehow somebody paid to get them here. Those air flights from Nairobi did not pay for themselves. Those trips through Mexico, Central America, South America, and from overseas did not pay for themselves. The United States government, your tax dollars paid for them to come here. Your tax dollars could pay for them, in theory, to leave here the same way they got here. And, Barnes was talking about on the show the other day, return the Venezuelan gangs to Venezuela, whether Venezuela wants them or not. You just land a plane and say, get off the plane. This is the end of the run here, boys. You got to get off. So there are ways to do this where you're indirectly paying them to leave by paying for their airline tickets, bus tickets, food, whatever it is, as opposed to a cash incentive to leave. It's cash in kind services, let's say.
All right. I can't find this to put it on the screen, but I'll answer it again.
Okay.
Lunch Lady 78. Does he ever read questions from Rumble?
Oh,
looks like I do.
Go Hunley. Read it. Is there a question in Rumble?
That literally was the question. Does he read
that's
questions?
The only question, right?
No, I've read several from Rumble
I know.
on here.
I know.
Tonight. Let me see. Speaking of which, there's another one here from T. Gaggiotti, how has the Oswald series performed? Great. People on Locals love the Oswald series.
Yeah, I mean, the question of performance is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, there's people who joined up just to get it, and then there's people who were there who got it, who were already there. So, I mean, everybody seems to like it from what I've read of comments.
Yeah, and if they don't, I haven't seen anyone.
I haven't seen anything negative, to be honest with you. I haven't seen anything negative about it.
I haven't either. Most people have reacted very, very positively.
Yeah.
To it, which we're thankful for. I mean, let me see. Scott Bimbo, McCain / Don Bowles, John McCain, Don Bowles, American Arizona Republican newspaper.
Boy, let me tell you something. This guy is so obsessed with this thing.
I said yes. It's a reporter.
It's about the 20th time this guy has mentioned Don Bowles. Is he a relative of yours or something, Scott? Or what's the deal with you and Don Bowles? He's mentioned, this is not the first time he's mentioned it.
Correct. And obviously he sent some stuff in, but
right. I don't know what else to tell you about Don Bowles.
Nick Wasey, Mark, ever thought about doing an episode on the men who killed Kennedy? Would be interesting to see your take on some of the content covered. We've brought it up.
Yeah,
but
you're talking about
not all of it is accurate.
The men who killed Kennedy series. This guy wants a series about the series.
Yeah,
we've brought it up many times. First of all, don't trust the British to do documentaries about American culture. It's my number one rule in this area. I don't do documentaries about British culture, and I'm not going to learn anything from the British telling me what my American history is about. Okay. And that goes for the men who killed Kennedy also.
All right. Mr. Green said Kings of Tupelo needs a second season. Happy New Year.
Kings of Tupelo. It's not a drama. I mean, Kings, you're talking about maybe the Tulsa Kings needs a third season, which is in production right now.
Yeah.
Kings of Tupelo has an ending. It's a docuseries. But it would be great if there was a second. You know what? Who knows? Maybe they'll go back and re-explore with these guys.
Well, look, they're milking Tiger King.
I guess it's possible. It is possible. I take it back. It is possible.
All right, just me. Mark, please say happy birthday, Trisha. I hope 2025 will be your best year yet. Thank you, sir.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Trisha. Happy birthday, Trisha. Is that your wife or just me? Happy birthday, Trisha.
All right.
Can you see the guy's in his barn with his horse? And he goes, "Hey, I told you, Trisha, he'd wish you a happy birthday." And the horse goes,
yeah, that'll work. And room question, is John Benet Ramsey thing going to get solved by DNA in 2025?
Who knows with this case already? Has anybody stayed on this case since day one? You know, straight through. I mean, there are a few.
There are a few. When they do have better DNA technology that can pick up some things, I don't know. We'll see. Scott Bimbo, haunted by spirits. Google it. Haunted by spirits. Google it. Screwtube made this hard. Haunted
by spirits or just haunted?
Scott, I think you're having some spirits
I think Scott's high as a kite right now. He's down in Arizona in his boxer shorts, rolling around on the floor.
But perhaps
in a Motel 6. Yeah.
All right. JS said, I sincerely appreciated late spending 2024 with you guys twice a week. I hope to get to a meetup in 2025. Thank you for the excellence.
I was thinking about the meetups last night. I mean, have we done the upper Midwest? And I was thinking about, like, who the hell wants to go to Minneapolis? That sucks. But where else can we go in Wisconsin or Minnesota? Or
I already said Coeur d'Alene for Idaho.
I know you say that, but who lives there? I mean, you think there are people there, or?
Well, go 500 miles every direction. It takes you all the way to the ocean.
Okay.
And all the way through a lot of Minnesota and whatever. So it's actually the Northwest.
Idaho? Is there another city in Idaho? Sioux City, Idaho? Is Sioux City a city in Idaho?
No, I think Sioux
City, Iowa. That's Iowa.
I thought that. Yes.
Sioux City, Iowa.
Yeah, right. Not Idaho.
But there's Boise, Idaho. That's a real city.
There is.
Okay.
a real city versus the fake cities, or I confused.
Well, we were debating Kansas City. I met a guy today from Missouri and his son. They were visiting LA.
Well, we have somebody that wanted us to do Missouri.
That's who these people were. So my friend just got back. His family's from Missouri, and he was staying in Kansas City. And there's a Kansas City, Kansas, and a Kansas City, Missouri. So there's two cities, but they're an inch apart. But one's on the other side of the line.
Right.
Both named Kansas City.
Well, somebody on the last Grill stream also put out Camp Girardeau in Missouri, which is birthplace of Rush Limbaugh, and could maybe bring David Limbaugh to the show or something. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. We have not settled on any location.
Couldn't we put it all into an AI program for mathematical equal distant place that we haven't hit mathematically mileage wise?
Well, I mean,
into AI saying what is the biggest city in the United States in proximity to the other cities that we've done. I mean, I'm not phrasing that correctly, but
no, I mean, it's something I don't know. Look at a map, you could say we've done nothing in the Northwest.
That's what I just brought up. Upper Midwest is what I meant. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Right. But technically we've done one thing in the West, Brea. Nothing in the Northwest. Upper Midwest, Ohio is kind of borderline on that in terms of it's sort of Eastern Midwest,
but there's Wisconsin and Minnesota. I seem to think of those two as being a particular region by itself almost, because they're pretty big. Is that Upper Midwest? I mean, what do you call Minnesota and Wisconsin?
Probably Upper Midwest.
Okay, that's what I meant, because I don't look at we were in Ohio. I think that's just the Midwest. Ohio, if I say Ohio.
Yeah, that's almost Eastern Midwest. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
It gets confusing. So I don't know. People can write in. A lot of it could be determined, like if somebody has connections, has a building, has some sort of access that can make life easier for us to figure out and get a location. Yeah, I agree with Joel Good. Virginia is a great place for a meeting.
That's
100%.
That's funny.
Let me see. JS, Springfield, Missouri is a fairly central area. Kansas City catches Nebraska and Iowa.
Okay. All right. That's a legitimate answer.
Well, I mean,
technically, that's a very legitimate answer.
Technically, Kansas City itself is considered dead center of the country.
Right. That's why my friend, I was having him suss out some spaces for us because he's from there, he's visiting his family. So I had him look around and see if there are any venues for us.
Okay. Well, we will figure something out. We'll try to figure out farther ahead, though.
It's not going to be in the winter, I'll tell you that much right now.
No.
Not going there in the dead of winter.
No, but hopefully we'll have enough advance notice so we could say 3 months ahead of time or more.
Or 3 days, or just 3 days. That's about the limit. It's going to be one of those things. Whoever gets there first gets in for free.
Yeah. So 3 months in advance, we'll definitely try to have. But on that note, we are going to be heading to locals.
Woohoo!
Hang out. Oh, hold on. Somebody dropped in a super chat, and I'm glad I didn't miss this. Macaulay's brother, Shane Culkin, with a very nice super chat. Was Lee Harvey Oswald 100% uninvolved? I believe so, but he had super shady connections, and Happy New Year, ya filthy animals.
Well, again, you're talking about an intelligence operative involved in what? You know, it's a question of involved. I presume you're meaning the actual shooting. Involved is kind of a broad spectrum because he knows these guys and he has various assignments in the course of his life. I mean, the situation where he defects to the USSR is not the same as when he's doing fair play for Cuba. You don't just get one assignment and that's it. I mean, even Ruth Paine ended up in Costa Rica during the 80s and then Nicaragua regarding the Sandinistas. So even Ruth Payne had multiple assignments, and rightfully so. You know, it's just the nature of the job, right, Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he did have multiple. I mean, simply being with shady characters, that is the job.
All right. Let me see. Human Resource wishing Eric and Mark a happy, healthy New Year and many, many more. Thank you.
Look, I hope they get the DEI out of Human Resources for the 2025. That's my New Year's dream.
Thank you, Human Resource.
Human Resources Department.
Scott Biddle, what happened to making Montgomery, Alabama yearly?
You know what? That's not a bad idea. That's where does Biddle live? Does he live in Montgomery, or he lives in Arizona? I think.
No, that's Scott.
Bimbo. That's
Bimbo.
Benbo.
No,
yeah, I'm sorry.
Biddle.
SB threw me off.
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to Montgomery or any other place in Alabama. What's the place up north in Alabama which has the university?
Huntsville.
That's got the electric chair, I think, right?
Dude, I don't know. I don't.
Birmingham.
Why? Why Alabama? Anyway, no, I don't know about that.
I'm not in love with Alabama, but it was a good meetup.
Yeah, it was a fantastic meetup.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to do that region, I would say Atlanta over that.
Whoa.
Access to
a little corrupt down there, but Georgia. What about Macon? Home of the Allman Brothers. There's a museum there, and there's a lot of things to do in Macon, Georgia.
Okay, well, and there's also a giant ass airport in Atlanta that makes it very easy.
Right, you land there, you get in your car, you drive to Macon, Georgia.
Or you go to Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah, I was supposed to, at one point I was supposed to go hog hunting with a what's the thing when the bow and arrow that's you pull back that type of bow and arrow crossbow, right?
Crossbow, yeah.
I was supposed to go crossbow hunting with Greg Allman and his son outside of Macon, Georgia for hogs, but it didn't materialize. I was supposed to learn how to kill a hog with a crossbow. So maybe I could take that up if we ever get back to Macon.
Okay, yeah, actually somebody else brought up a good one. If how about New Orleans?
Very dangerous city.
Oh, just make sure it's during the day.
Very dangerous city. I mean, again, watch what you pray for.
Okay. I don't know.
What about Vegas?
Well, Vegas may be in the future.
Yeah,
with some other people who are doing something anyway.
Yeah,
if they are. You know, we'll talk offline and
whoa,
figure out what's going on.
Because
there might have to be another award given out.
Yes, I forgot about that.
I'm just saying.
Anyway. I forgot about that. All right.
So, all right. Let me see. I think 37. Cato said the U.S. government has deported U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
Joe Biden is a U.S. citizen. So,
where can we send that piece of shit?
Who would take him?
Maybe Puerto Rico.
I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. All right. Well, folks, I hope you have a fantastic, happy New Year. Yeah. I hope to see you on Freeform Friday this next year.
That's right.
We are going to be here.
Right. That's what he's saying.
We definitely look forward to it.
Okay.
And interim, you can still hang out with us for a little while. We're going to head over to Locals. There's a link in the description.
Where? Down below?
Yeah, down below.
Right on.
Read in the description. There's a link to Locals.
What?
And we appreciate you being there. And we will see you momentarily. This is what you call Boomer Foley, and everybody see you soon.